All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Spring Patent Knowledge Examination Candidate Orientation session. My name is Jen Slobodkin, and I am joined today by my colleague Tifan. Tifan will introduce herself and explain the interpretation option to listen in French.
Hello everybody. Pour les agents francophones, vous avez l'option d'écouter cette présentation en français. Nous avons des interprètes avec nous. Il suffit pour cela de cliquer en bas. Vous avez un petit globe avec interprétation. Cliquez dessus et cliquez sur français. Merci beaucoup et bon webinaire. Thank you, Jen. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about many things. So just a reminder, the PowerPoint as well as the webinar is being recorded and they will be available at the latest tomorrow. So we're going to talk about the exam date, the test specifications, the platform that we're going to be using. You're going to receive additional instructions and then more information about the results and scoring, the process. Then we're going to talk about what we have frequently asked questions, and also you'll be able to ask any questions that you may have. So as you may be aware, the exam is on June 10th from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you so much, Tifan. So I'm going to talk about the test specifications for this examination. CPATA develops each examination using a set of test specifications approved by the registration committee to ensure that the exams test defensively. The test specifications, which you can find on our website, outline what an exam will measure in terms of content domain, as well as guidelines on how the content is to be measured. Such guidelines are expressed in terms of structure, so we provide information about format, length, and cognitive level, and context, which are the circumstances in which the examination questions are framed and that can influence their interpretation. The content weights for the qualifying examinations were each set by a group of practicing agents with guidance from a psychometrician. These weights were informed by average criticality and importance ratings from the large-scale competency validation survey that was administered in September of 2022. The recommended content weights were presented to the registration committee for approval. The knowledge examinations are set for 4 hours, are closed book, and consist of 135 multiple choice questions, up to 10% of which are non-scored. The non-scored items do not count toward the final score, but are used to gather information and data on item performance for future test forms. For the 2025 examinations, the non-scored items will be selected after the exam based on item analysis. In future years, the non-scored items will likely be selected in advance of the exam administration, though this could change following item analysis. Candidates are not advised which items are non-scored to ensure valid data. In the case of these knowledge examinations, 3 hours would typically be adequate for most test takers. Given that time pressure is not a tested construct on this examination, and given accessibility goals, the time to complete the examination was set at 4 hours. The knowledge examinations use a closed book format where the items are designed to test general understanding of core concepts rather than information retrieval. Test takers are encouraged to prepare by reviewing source materials with the goal of understanding key concepts and familiarizing themselves with important sections of relevant legislation. The closed book format was selected for the knowledge examinations for the following reasons. Test quality. The ideal knowledge-based test items focused on understanding of core concepts rather than on minute details or information retrieval skills. Such items better test core constructs for improved validity and require less frequent updates for improved reliability. It also reduces time pressure. This can be especially beneficial to those who are multilingual, those with test anxiety, and those requiring various accommodations. The examination is administered using a computer-based platform supported by Paradigm Testing. The examination will be remotely proctored using live proctors from Monitor EDU. French-speaking proctors are available upon request. Please contact the registration department as soon as possible to arrange for a French-speaking proctor if needed.
Here are the requirements for taking the exam. The specific technical requirements are available in the instructions and protocol guide, which are posted on the website. In order to complete the exam, you will need the following: a laptop or desktop computer, the most recent version of the secure browser. This is really important. You must make sure that you uninstall any previous versions of the secure browser and install the newest version. Even if the link is the same, the actual application has been updated. There are French directions located at the bottom. Please scroll to access them if needed. You will also need a mobile phone running at least Android 6.0 or Apple 12.0 with a functioning camera and microphone. Google Meet app downloaded to your mobile device. A steady and reliable internet connection, Wi-Fi will be required for mobile streaming, with a minimum upload speed of 1 megabytes per second. A 6-foot extension cord and phone cord, a phone stand, or something to prop the mobile phone on. Government issued ID, candidate ID, which is provided on your confirmation of exam registration issued by CPATA. That email has not been released yet. And a quiet venue. You must be alone in the room. Here are some tips for setting up your room. There is a video linked in the setup guide. Please keep these things in mind when setting up your testing environment. There should be adequate lighting. Walls should be blank. Your table or desk should be clear, other than your laptop computer. The areas beneath the desk and chair should be clear. The computer and mobile phone should be plugged in for the duration of the exam. You should have within reach a 6-foot extension cord and use it, if requested by the proctor, to move the computer and mobile phone. You should inform other individuals that may share space with you about your exam date and time, and confirm that they will remain quiet during the exam and will not enter the exam room. You must be alone in the exam room for the duration of the exam. No one can enter the exam room during the exam. And finally, non-required electronics and any security or recording devices in the room must be turned off and put away in a safe place so that you will not be able to reach them. We strongly encourage everyone to test the exam platform with an exam proctor between June 2nd and 6th. This is true even if you have previously tested before. The live proctor check-in instructions are provided in the instructions and protocol guide. Proctors are available 24/7. You will be able to test your computer system and ensure everything works properly before the exams are written the following week. This is not a full mock practice exam. You will only be presented with the published practice exam questions again. This is to give candidates more familiarity with the platform and what to expect on exam days. The instructions for connecting with a proctor for the checking are published in the examination instructions protocol on the preparation page for the pattern exam.
Thanks, Tifan. So now we're going to go through some candidate instructions preparation for the exam date. As Tifan just explained, it's really important that you test your equipment ahead of time and not on the exam day. So please check in with a proctor the week of June 2nd to 6th so that you can test your equipment and make sure that everything is working properly before the exam. If you don't do that, and there are issues on the exam day that are technology related that could have been troubleshooted beforehand, then we may or may not be able to do something to assist you on writing that exam day, depending on the extent of the technological issue that you're experiencing. So it's very important that you test your equipment ahead of time. ID. So on the examination day, you have to have government issued ID with you for the check-in and for the actual exam day. So this is a photo ID that the proctor can use to confirm that the person writing the exam is the Class 3 agent in training who is registered with CPATA. And finally, you need to have your candidate number. This is a unique number provided to each candidate for the exam administration. It is not your CPATA ID. So a CPATA ID is something that CPATA has issued to you when you first registered as a Class 3 agent, and that is public information and it's visible on the public register. So the candidate number is an anonymized, unique number that is assigned for each exam administration, and it's unique to each candidate. And that assists us in ensuring that the exam is scored anonymously. This candidate number will be available to you in your confirmation of registration, which will be sent out on Friday. On examination day, it's really important that you connect with a proctor and fill out the sign-in form. This step is very important. If you don't connect with a proctor, then you will not be able to access the exam. You must connect with the proctor first. The proctor will go through the registration process with you. They will check your ID, they will do the room and the system check, and then provide you with the login information, which includes the link to the exam and your login credentials. It's important that you connect with a proctor before the exam start time at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. You can connect with a proctor as early as 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Proctors are often assisting more than one candidate log into the exam, so to help ensure that everyone starts on time, it's helpful to connect starting around noon and no later than 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All of these instructions are provided in the instructions and protocol guide. During the exam, you may not access the following types of personal items. Mobile phones. The only mobile phone that you are allowed to have with you is the one that you are using for proctoring. You cannot have access to any other mobile phones or electronic devices other than the laptop or computer that you're using to write the exam. You may not have access to headphones or headsets, either wired or Bluetooth. You may not have access to handheld computers or other electronic devices, as I just explained. You may not have access to a watch. In the exam platform, there is a clock countdown from the 4-hour mark, so you don't have to worry about remembering how much time you have on the exam, and so watches are not permitted. You may not have wallets or purses, bags, or coats with you, and no books, notes, or any other materials. So that includes scrap paper. You are not permitted to have scrap paper or any kind of writing utensils, and you are also not permitted to have any pieces of legislation or exam aids with you during the exam. You also may not wear hats or other head coverings unless they are worn as a religious observance. A few more things to remember on exam day. Monitor EDU uses Google Meet to support their proctoring services. You can see the instructions and information protocol for downloading the applications. This will allow the exam sessions to be recorded. The recordings will be saved with Monitor EDU for a finite period of time. Therefore, if something occurs during your exam that you think CPATA should be aware of, please send a request to schedule@monitoredu.com with your name, candidate number, and the date of the exam when the incident occurred to request that they share the exam recording with CPATA for further investigation. These requests must be submitted to Monitor EDU prior to the release of the examination results, which will be in July. The instructions for asking for an incident report are also included in the candidate guide, which is posted on the website. Snacks and water. You may have a drink with you, but it must be in a clear vessel, which is a clear bottle, a cup, a glass, etc., with no labels. So if you do have a bottle with a label on it, you must remove the label or cover it. You may also have snacks with you, but they must be in clear vessels, like clear bags or clear containers, so that the proctor can see what is in the bag or in the container. Also, please tell the proctor at the beginning when you are checking in that you'd like to have snacks during the exam so that they are aware. In addition to receiving the confirmation of registration from CPATA, you will receive an email confirmation from Monitor EDU the Friday before the live proctor check-in, and then another one the Friday before the exam that will provide you with the protocol for the exam days and some system setup information. This information is also already provided to you on our website in the instructions and information protocol. Earplugs. If you wish to wear earplugs during the exam, they will need to be new foam earplugs that are still in their package. Candidates must open the new foam earplugs in front of the proctor. Candidates must advise CPATA if they wish to use earplugs prior to the start of the exam so that the proctors can be informed. Jewelry. To support the integrity of the exam security process, you will be asked to remove any jewelry before the exam. And that includes earrings, necklaces, bracelets, etc. Given that this is a closed book exam, you cannot have any materials with you. You cannot have scrap paper or anything that you can write with, as I previously mentioned. This would impact the security of the examination. Candidates can only use one monitor. The secure browser will only open on one monitor, but you can choose which monitor you use if you have multiple monitors. For bathroom breaks, time is not added back for bathroom breaks, but they are permitted. The exam is only paused, or time is only added back for those approved for accommodations. When a candidate leaves the testing area for a bathroom break, proctors will perform another security check when the candidate re-enters the testing area. Candidates who are absent from the testing area for an extended period of time, for example, longer than a couple of minutes, or who take frequent breaks, will be flagged for exam security reasons. If exam security issues are detected, the candidate's examination attempt may be invalidated. In the event of any technical issues, candidates must get the proctor's attention. This will allow the candidate to communicate with a proctor who will assist them. Time is only added back, or the exam is only paused if the issue was beyond the candidate's control.
You have a maximum of 4 hours to complete your examination. All exams will be submitted 4 hours after you have started your exam. It is your responsibility to ensure that your environment is adequate for testing. The examination is being displayed in the language of choice you selected on your registration form. Computer problems, internet-related difficulties, and connectivity issues, including problems resulting from a power outage, should be directed to the live proctor during the exam. As this is an individual examination, you are strictly forbidden from consulting any other individuals or materials. Late start. Any time missed due to a late start, which was not attributed to a technology issue, will be deducted from the total examination time. Read the questions carefully. Exam 8 translations. A PDF of the French version of the exam has been included as an Exam 8 in the platform. You can review the French questions and response options using that PDF, if needed, throughout the exam. Exit survey. Upon submission of the exam, you will be presented with a link to an optional survey that asks about any issues you may have experienced during the exam. To complete the survey, click on Survey on the submission page. A new window will open with the survey questions. Please complete the survey and click Submit. Once the survey has been submitted, close the Survey tab and then click on Close on the exam submission page. Note that once your exam has been submitted and you're presented with the survey page, you will not be able to go back into the exam. The system will ask you to confirm your wish to submit your exam before the submission is made.
Okay, let's take a look at the exam platform. Once you've connected with the proctor and you've been checked in, you'll receive the link to the examination. So you'll be able to enter your username and password that the proctor will provide to you. So you will not have access to that information before the exam is actually provided to you. You will see the exam on the dashboard, and then you will click on Start Test to begin the examination. The first thing you should do is read through the instructions and then read through and agree to the candidate agreement. All of the instructions and the candidate agreement that are on the actual exam are on the practice exam, which is posted on our preparation page on our website. And after the PowerPoint presentation has been completed, I will go through the website with you so that I can show you how this functionality works and some of the other preparation resources that are available to you. So it's really important that you check this stuff out before the examination so that come exam day, you don't have to worry about remembering the instructions or reading through the instructions and then starting the examination. Everything will be something that you're already familiar with. In terms of question navigation and review, it's really important to know that you have different options for navigating through the questions. You can use the previous or next button. You can click on the question numbers at the bottom of the screen, or you can navigate to attempted, incomplete, or flagged questions using the question review function. That being said, we strongly recommend that candidates confirm that all questions have been answered before they submit the examination. Questions that are blue have been answered. Questions that are green have not yet been answered. I encourage you to check on the question review section in the bottom right corner to ensure that you have answered all of the questions before submitting your exam. Here is a sample view of a multiple choice question. You'll see here that the STEM and the 4 answer options are visible on the screen. So are the next and bookmark button. If you're on question 2 or further along, then you'd also see the previous button there. Along the bottom left corner, you'll see the questions, the little green boxes that are numbered, and those are the boxes that change color when you've answered a question. Underneath that, you will see a little navigation bar that shows you a percentage of how many questions that you've completed on the exam. And that just gives you a visual representation of how far along in the exam you are at any given time. So if you've completed half the questions, then 50% of that bar will be filled up. Immediately to the right of that bar is a little font symbol, and that allows you to increase or decrease the size of the font during the examination. On the bottom right-hand corner is the question review function, and then underneath that, the submit button. So you only click on the submit button once you have completed the exam, you've reviewed all of the questions that you've bookmarked for yourself, and you've made sure you've completed all of the questions. That is what you click on to get to the survey. In the middle on the right side of the screen is the Exam Aids tab. And so in this exam, you will have access to the notepad, so you can type notes to yourself if you wish to do that. And this is where the PDFs of the exams will also be provided. So if you're writing in English and you want to review the French question, you can do so there. Or if you're writing in French and you want to review the English question, then you can do so there. I think I said that in the right order both times, but you know what I mean, vice versa, if you're writing in English or in French. If you're writing depending on whatever question or whatever language you're writing in as well, if there is a visibility issue on a question, for whatever reason, part of the question is cut off to you, then you also have the ability to view the question in the language you're writing the exam in the exam aids section. And then in the top right corner, you will see the clock. That's the counter that counts down from 4 hours or however many hours and minutes you have if you have any granted approved accommodations. In terms of functionality, you have the ability to highlight or strike through parts of a question. And so all you need to do is to select the text you want to highlight or strike through, and then select the function that you wish to use. If you highlight something or strike through something and you wish to undo that, you would just reselect that text, and then it will have an option to remove the highlight or remove the strike through. And again, at the end of the presentation, I will share the website and we can go through what that is on the practice platform. I mentioned briefly the use of changing the font size or using the PDFs to review a question, but I thought I would just go through the different ways you can change the font size and screen zoom during the exam. And this can be helpful for candidates that might have smaller monitors where text may be cut off for some of the questions. So you can use the font increase or decrease functionality to change the size of the text during the exam. You can use Control plus or Control minus, and I believe for Apple that's Command, to zoom in or out on the exam window screen if you wish to do that during the exam. And then you can also review the questions in the exam aid PDF files. In terms of troubleshooting, there are different things that you will need to be aware of and how to proceed if you experience any of these issues during the exam. The first is a power outage. A power outage is a sudden loss of electricity that interrupts the exam delivery or causes test takers' devices to shut down. If a candidate loses power and the device shuts down, first of all, the candidate needs to remain calm. If the computer is off, then the exam timer will be paused. The candidate should get the proctor's attention to let them know what has happened, and then they can guide them on what to do next. Monitor EDU will escalate issues to CPATA, and we can talk about backup locations or options for writing if the power is not restored right away. Network connectivity issues. Problems with the internet connectivity that prevent test takers from accessing the exam platform or cause the exam to freeze or disconnect. If a candidate has internet connectivity issues, they will need to let the proctor know right away. The proctor will then ask the candidate to restart their computer. While this is happening, if the candidate has access to the internet router or modem, they will need to restart that as well. If the issue does not resolve itself, Monitor EDU will escalate the issue to CPATA, and we will talk about backup locations or options if the issue persists. Technical issues or software malfunction with the platform. Issues with the exam software, such as errors, bugs, incompatibilities, or crashes that interfere with exam delivery or prevent test takers from progressing through the exam. If a candidate experiences any of these issues, contact the proctor right away for troubleshooting assistance. Remember, if you experience any issues that you need to get the proctor's attention for, Tifan will explain how to do that next.
Right. Thank you, Jen. If you need the proctor at all during an exam, please say your name and raise your hand and wait for the proctor to connect back through audio with you. Proctors can manage more than one test taker at the same time. So if it takes them a minute to respond, it could be that they're insisting on another test taker. If they do not respond, please pick up your phone and wave at the camera or hold your phone so they can see that you need something. Please do not disconnect from the video chat without talking to the proctor first.
Now I would like to turn our attention to results and scoring. There is no single method to determine a defensible pass mark for all tests or purposes. Different methods are suited to different circumstances. And as a licensing body, CPATA needed to select an approach to standard setting that was based on the purpose of the examinations, which is to assess entry-level competencies, as well as how closely the method aligned with assessment goals. For a high-stakes licensing examination, in other words, a test with important consequences, the selected standard setting approach should relate to the purpose of the examination. Sorry, just 1 second. It must be appropriate to the level of complexity of the competencies to be assessed by the examination, be appropriate to the specific format of the examination, be supported by scholarly research supporting its use, and for practical reasons should reflect the availability of resources, which include money, time, expertise in statistical analysis, and availability of experts. In 2023, the Registration Committee approved the methodologies which will be used on the new examinations to determine the pass mark. For the knowledge examination, they approved the modified Angoff method. The modified Angoff method is the most well-studied and documented standard setting method. It is the most commonly used method for setting cut scores in credentialing contexts and uses a standards referenced approach, which means that the pass mark reflects the standard and expectations of the profession. A minimum standard will be determined through systematic standard setting process that involves a panel of subject matter experts who are practicing agents. These panelists make ratings based on the expected performance of a minimally competent candidate for each exam item. The total number of scored questions a candidate answers correctly on the exam, each worth 1 point, will be compared to the minimum standard to determine the result. All candidates will receive a performance report which outlines the candidate's performance on the patent knowledge examination. This report includes the overall result of competency demonstrated or competency not yet demonstrated. The result of competency demonstrated means that performance on the exam met or exceeded the minimum standard, showing a general understanding of the core concepts associated with patent practice. This result indicates that the candidate has the entry-level foundational knowledge necessary to support future learning and development in this area. Subject to meeting other requirements, this result means that the candidate is eligible to register for the patent agent skills examination. The results competency not yet demonstrated means that the performance on the exam did not meet the minimum standard. The candidate did not yet prove a sufficient understanding of the core concepts associated with patent practice. The candidate may have gaps in their understanding of foundational patent knowledge and the application of key patent principles. This result suggests that the candidate may need further preparation and studying before reattempting the patent knowledge examination or being eligible to attempt the patent agent skills examination. The performance report also includes an overall performance descriptor that compares the candidate's performance, which is the number of questions they answered correctly, to the minimum standard. This information, along with measurement variability data, informs an estimate of how close the candidate's performance was to the passing standard. Measurement variability data is a statistical summary that represents the dispersion or spread of data points in a data set. The performance categories are above the standard, which means the candidate's performance on the exam was above the passing standard, demonstrating competence beyond the minimum requirements. Just meets the standard means that the candidate's performance on the exam just met the passing standard, demonstrating a satisfactory level of competence. Approaches the standard means that the candidate's performance on the exam was close to the passing standard, showing some potential. However, some improvement is needed to actually meet the standard. And below the standard means that the candidate's performance was below the passing standard and that improvement is needed. Candidates who receive an overall result of competency demonstrated would receive a corresponding performance descriptor of either above the standard or just meets the standard. Candidates who receive an overall result of competency not yet demonstrated would receive a corresponding performance descriptor of approaches the standard or below the standard. Finally, the performance report lists the knowledge areas tested on the exam, as well as the percentage of questions on the exam that are related to each area. Knowledge areas with more questions have a greater effect on your overall performance. The performance details show whether the candidate's performance in each knowledge area meets or is below a minimum threshold that is set for each area. Meets means that it is equal to or exceeds the minimum standard, and below means that it was below the standard. The area level thresholds will be set using data from the standard setting process. It is important to keep in mind that only the total score determines the result. There is no separate pass mark for each knowledge area. Stronger performance in one area can offset weaker performance in another. Keep in mind that the area level results are based on fewer questions than the overall result, making them less reliable for predicting future performance. For this reason, the meets or below insights should only be used to help candidates better self-assess their knowledge of these areas, not as a definitive statement of their ability. We understand that test takers may be used to seeing specific scores on exams, and that these scores provide a tangible measure of performance. However, the primary purpose of our qualifying exams is not to rank order test takers or precisely measure their depth of knowledge or skill, but rather to determine whether a test taker has achieved a certain level of competence. The important question is not how much better did one person do compared to another, but has this person met the minimum level of competence required to practice safely and effectively? Think of the licensing process in terms of a series of hurdles. The goal of completing these hurdles isn't necessarily about how much faster one person is than another. The primary objective is to determine whether each person can successfully complete each hurdle. A person who clears the hurdles by 1 inch is just as successful in this context as a person who clears them by a meter. In a similar vein, our qualifying examinations work more like a series of hurdles rather than a race against other competitors. As such, the score isn't as meaningful as the overall decision of competency demonstrated or competency not yet demonstrated. You can also think of the pass mark as analogous to the height requirement for an amusement park ride. When you approach a ride, there is a sign indicating a height that guests must be a certain height in order to ride. And the point of that measure isn't to see who the tallest person is, but to ensure that everyone on the ride meets a minimum height for safety reasons. Similarly, our exam isn't about who achieves the highest score, but whether each candidate has reached the necessary height or level of competence to practice the profession safely and effectively. In addition, focusing on the result rather than the numeric score may also reduce unhelpful competition amongst test takers, which can lessen test-related stress. Our goal at CPATA is to ensure that each licensed individual is qualified and competent. We have chosen this method of reporting our exams because we believe this method best serves that purpose. The approach focuses on the goal of achieving general proficiency rather than encouraging test takers to chase after a high score. Finally, you may be wondering if you can challenge your result. The short answer is no, you cannot challenge your result. The long answer is the process used to create, administer, and score the CPATA knowledge examinations employed psychometric best practices at every stage to ensure that it was valid, reliable, defensible, and fair. Practicing agents were recruited to develop the item bank for the knowledge exams. Each agent received a development assignment, which was coordinated to ensure the mix of items and their content area aligned with the proportion of items that appear in the test form, as required by the test specifications. They were required to adhere to an item development guide, which helped item developers create quality test items. This guide outlined fundamentals, recommended practices specific to developing multiple choice questions, and writing conventions that apply to all items of various types. After the items were developed, they underwent a rigorous review process to ensure that the questions were appropriate and the answer key was correct. This included a peer review, where an independent subject matter expert, an agent other than the person who developed the item, reviewed the item for content and quality. And that meant alignment to the test specifications in terms of competency and cognitive level, suitable level of difficulty, and whether the answer key was correct. They then underwent psychometric reviews, where a psychometrician reviewed them to confirm that they adhered to defensible item development practices. They then underwent a translation review, where another group of independent subject matter experts who are bilingual practicing agents not involved in the item development process, reviewed the items to ensure that they were in each language equivalent and meant the same thing. Finally, there was an examination committee review where a subgroup of the Skills Exam Advisory Group completed a final review to identify any outstanding issues or concerns. After all of the reviews were completed, the exam form was assembled in accordance with psychometric best practices and the approved test specifications. The form was assembled and randomly sequenced in a way to balance content level and cognitive level. Once the form was assembled, it was piloted by a group of practicing agents, and an item analysis was conducted by a psychometrician to flag items that required review. Any outstanding issues related to the items were resolved. After the exam is administered, we complete the standard setting process as previously described. During this process, the psychometricians conduct another item analysis with data from the actual exam administration. The exam advisory group members then complete the key validation process, where they review and validate items that are flagged during the analysis. During this process, the answer key may be corrected, and all candidates might be awarded credit. An item could be scored with 2 or more keyed answers. An item might be removed from scoring altogether. So there are different things that can come out of the item analysis and key validation process. The standard setting process occurs to derive the proposed pass mark. The registration committee will then meet to approve the pass mark, and the results file will be generated using that information. The results file is then reviewed for accuracy before generating the performance reports. In summary, we've implemented checks and controls in the development, review, and scoring process to verify the accuracy of the results. This includes investigating and resolving any discrepancies or questions before releasing performance reports. In addition, before notifying any test takers of a result of competency not yet demonstrated, CPATA engages in an administrative review of that result. This review is automatic and is at no cost to the test taker. And for this reason, performance report results are considered final when they are published. The knowledge examinations are administered twice starting this year in 2025. Because agents in training complete their training programs at different times throughout the year, and the dates of the exams are fixed on an annual basis, to ensure fairness, all agents in training are permitted to attempt the knowledge exam up to 4 times. Agents in training who do not attempt the knowledge exam within 2 years after the day on which they complete their training program will be required to provide and complete a remedial training and education plan before being permitted to attempt the examination. Agents in training who do not yet demonstrate competency on the knowledge exam after their 4 attempts will be required to also provide and complete a remedial training and education plan before being permitted to attempt the exam again. Agents in training who have attempted the exam and request a delay in writing a subsequent administration of that exam for a reason beyond their control, and who don't attempt it again within a period of 2 years, are also required to provide and complete a remedial training and education plan. If there are extenuating circumstances or irregularities during your examination, then what should you do? Or what happens, sorry. CPATA uses various methods to detect and address issues and irregularities. At the end of each exam administration, we solicit feedback from the test takers about extenuating circumstances, for example, compassionate consideration, medical reasons, process anomalies, that the test taker believes materially impaired their exam performance. CPATA then actively seeks and analyzes that information. It takes information from the exam administrators and experts to identify irregularities in the exam administration, including misconduct. In the case of extenuating circumstances or any irregularity, we reserve the right to withhold results, to nullify or invalidate an exam submission, to subject any exam or part thereof to further review, or to take other action, including disciplinary action if appropriate, in order to preserve the integrity of the licensing process. The next administration of the patent knowledge exam after this spring administration will be in February of 2026. And then there will be another one in June of 2026. There are lots of resources that are available on our website to assist candidates in preparing for the knowledge examination. And this includes the candidate guide, the setup guide, which is the information and instructions protocol. The candidate guide has information about what to study, and we also have a separate document on the website about what to study and the proportions in which the exam covers the test specifications and the competency profile. So I'll show you those resources in just a minute, but I'll pass it over to Tifan to finish us off for the PowerPoint.
Thank you, Jen. So if you have any questions, we know we gave you lots of information today. So feel free to reach out to us by email. So I'm sure you already know our email, but you can also talk to a live agent from Monitor EDU. So you have all the information on this slide.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. I'll let people start writing in their questions if they have any questions. I'm just going to end the slideshow and then pull up the website for you. Okay, so you should be able to see the preparation page for the patent agent qualifying examinations. This is the page that I was referring to and Tifan was referring to throughout the presentation today. You'll see that we have the candidate guide for this exam and the skills exam, as well as the information, instructions, and protocol. So I'll just click on that so you can see what that looks like. It has all of the technical instructions there for you. In terms of what to study, we have combined information from the test specifications with information from the competency profile to put them both in the same document. So for example, it does say in the test specifications that about 34% of the exam is related to testing foundational patent knowledge. And so these are sources, primary, secondary, professional, as well as concepts that could be have questions related to them found on the knowledge exam. Same thing for knowledge specific to strategy as an example. So 11% of the exam plus or minus 5% is related to knowledge specific to strategy. And so there are a list of knowledge concepts there that you can then go through and make sure that you understand, because those are the types of things that will be asked about strategy, for example, or drafting, or prosecution, or validity and infringement. So that is a resource. We actually have the test specifications themselves on the website as well. So I took snippets of this and I put it into the PowerPoint presentation, but you can see the full document on the website. We have sample knowledge exam questions. So if you click on sample patent knowledge exam, then the platform, the actual test platform will pop up for you, not the secure browser version. That is only available for you during the live proctor check-in and during the actual exam administration. So you can read through these exam instructions ahead of time. Pretty much just provides you with all of the information that we included in the webinar today. And then you can review the candidate agreement, scroll down and click accept and then start, and the sample exam will launch for you. You can see all of the different things that we talked about today. So if you want to bookmark something, if you want to click on next, if you want to answer a question, you can see that that question has now turned blue from green. I've completed 1 out of 15 of the questions. I'm going to increase the font to make it really big. Now I'm going to make it smaller. The exam aids here, you can see this is where the PDF files will be, and this is where your notepad is. The question review functionality is down here. So you can see I've attempted 1. There are 14 incomplete. I flagged 1, or you can review all of them. So you can use that to filter the questions once you've completed them. And then the counter, as I said, is up in the top right-hand corner, telling you how many hours and minutes you have left of this exam. And then once you click on submit, you'll be prompted to confirm that you actually want to submit your exam. This is a safety precaution because I'm sure that there were candidates who accidentally pressed submit and they wanted to get back into their exam. But once you click on submit and once you click on yes, then that is it. You cannot go back into the exam. Even if you had more time left, you cannot go back into the exam. So make sure that you are done before you actually click on submit. This is the page that will become available once you click on submit, and it will link to that survey that we were talking about. So that's where you can explain if there's anything material that we need to know about that impacted you during the exam. Once you click on close, then it will just close that page for you. You can also find the sample answer key. It's just a PDF document that's on the website as well. And then if you scroll down, then where the registration button was for the orientation, we will then be posting the link to the recording and the link to the slides. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I think that we've gone through most of the resources that I wanted to do that. So we have a question about the secure browser, and the secure browser is an application that you have to download and install onto your computer before the exam, before you do the live proctor check-in, that will actually lock your computer down during the exam. So it will make it so that you can't access any other websites or any other applications or information during the exam, or like anything like Teams or Slack or any kind of messaging platforms or anything like that, no email. It's pretty much to ensure security of the exam during the exam administration. In terms of the piece of paper to write your candidate number and to write the login password, we don't allow for any kind of writing utensils or additional paper. So your candidate number is just 4 digits. It shouldn't be an issue for you to remember. However, if you want to write that candidate number down and provide it to your proctor during check-in and then remove that paper out of the examination room, or into an area that you can no longer see in the examination room, then that would be something that you would be permitted to do. But the proctor will actually, you'll have a chat feature with the proctor, so they'll be able to message that information to you, your login credentials, if you are unable to remember them when they provide them. So there's no need to write anything down during the exam. Are there any other questions or comments that anybody wanted to make for the upcoming administration? I'll stick around. I'll do my wrap-up comments, and then we'll see if anything else comes through. So if you do have any questions, if something comes to you later on or you don't feel comfortable asking right now, then please feel free to reach out to us through the registration email. Tifan and I are available to answer any questions that you might have or provide any assistance that you might need related to an accommodation or related to a proctor, the live proctor check-in, your technology, anything related to that. So please do feel free to reach out to us at any time between now and the examination date, just to go through anything with you. As I mentioned, we will be sending out the confirmations of registration on Friday, and that will have your candidate ID in there, so you don't have to worry about that until then. The confirmation also just explains whether you've consented to have your results released to your supervisor or your firm. It indicates which language you're writing the exam in, and if you have any approved accommodations that you're going to be writing for the exam. So I don't see any other questions have come through. I think that we are good to end the webinar. I would like to thank my co-host Tifan very much for your excellent presentation today. I'd also like to thank our CPATA staff, Dana and Andres, for your assistance, and our interpretation team as well. Merci beaucoup. And thank you all very much. We will be posting the recording shortly. Oh, do we have a question?
One
We
last
have one
question
more question.
for the road.
So there isn't any remedial courses, so you have to come up with a remedial training and education plan, and that information is available in the policy that we have about the number of attempts that you can have on the exam. So pretty much at this point, it is a self-assessment that you complete with your supervisor, or if you don't have a supervisor, then you complete it on your own, and you map out the tasks or activities that you are going to do in order to shore up any areas that might be a gap or might need some refreshing before the next available administration of the examination. So there isn't a specific course, nothing that we have created or prescribed. It is a self-assessment and self-created plan that you then have to complete and submit proof of to the registrar in order to reestablish eligibility for the examinations.
Another question.
So we have another question. Is the confirmation email a final confirmation or will additional documentation be requested? If you have already provided everything to us, then your confirmation will say that you have provided everything to us and it will not say anything about needing anything else. If there is something that is missing, then we will indicate that on your confirmation of registration. So for example, if you haven't submitted a supervisor attestation yet, it will indicate whether or not we require it and whether or not it's received. Same thing for accommodation requests. If you've submitted an accommodation request, but we are missing documentation or information, then it will indicate that the accommodation could not be completed or it could not be reviewed at this time until the missing information is received. So it will indicate all of the information that we have as of Friday. And if there is anything missing after that, then we will do specific follow-up with you before the examination or exam administration date.
Another question. Okay.
Yeah, another question. So if you do need an accommodation for any kind of religious purposes, including attire or anything that you need to wear, then you must submit a request for accommodation. And the deadline to do that was the registration deadline of May 9th. So if you do need an accommodation for that reason, please submit that documentation as soon as possible. Or at least reach out to the registration department and we can walk you through the process and provide you with the form. I'll give it another minute. I jumped the gun earlier. All right. Okay, well, if anybody has any other questions or anything, please, as I said, reach out to us. Feel free to do that at any time. Good luck on this exam administration. I think that everybody should hopefully do well on this. There isn't any tricks or anything like that. We're not trying to trick anybody. We're just testing entry to practice competence. Oh, and the other thing was, this came up in the trademark side. If you'd like to know information about the pass rates for the previous administrations, then you can find that on the exam reports section of our website. So we don't publish the pass mark, but we do publish the pass rate for each of the exam administrations. All right, so I will go ahead and say thank you to everybody again. Have a lovely afternoon. Enjoy your short week, hopefully. And please be in touch if you need anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.